Have you ever walked into a room and felt, almost instantly, like everyone around you had already formed an opinion about you? Maybe it's the tilt of your head, the firmness of your handshake, or even the way you breathe. Those tiny details, things you barely notice yourself, are constantly being scanned and interpreted by others, often within fractions of a second. Research shows that within just 7 to 30 seconds, someone has already made a judgment about whether they like you, trust you, or view you as competent. What's even more fascinating is that these judgments are almost entirely subconscious. Your brain doesn't sit there logically weighing evidence. Instead, it's quickly analyzing a complex stream of cues. Your posture, the way your eyes move, the tone and rhythm of your voice, micro-expressions that flicker across your face, and even subtle details like the color of your clothing or the style of your shoes. All of this information is processed faster than conscious thought, creating an immediate gut-level impression that feels instantaneous, but is deeply informed by tiny, often invisible signals. And here's the kicker. First impressions are incredibly sticky. Once someone's brain has formed an initial opinion, it tends to cling to it. It takes far more effort, time, and evidence to change that mental model than most people realize. A slightly awkward comment or a brief moment of hesitation can be amplified in their mind, while positive actions later on may be discounted if they don't align with the original impression. This is why first impressions are so powerful, and why they matter in nearly every aspect of life. They can influence whether a potential employer sees you as capable during a job interview, whether a romantic interest feels drawn to you on a first date, or whether colleagues see you as a leader in a meeting. Every detail counts, from the way you carry yourself to the subtle energy you project, because the subconscious brain is constantly taking notes. In short, first impressions aren't just fleeting moments. They're foundation stones for relationships, career opportunities, and personal connections that can last for years. Understanding how quickly and subtly these impressions are formed gives you a powerful advantage. By learning to control the signals you project, even unconsciously, you can shape how the world perceives you from the very first second you enter a room. Why first impressions happen so quickly? The lightning-fast formation of first impressions is rooted in our brain's need for efficiency and survival. Humans evolved in environments where quick decisions about others could mean the difference between life and death. Our ancestors had to rapidly determine who was safe to approach, who could be trusted with food or resources, and who posed a potential threat. Over thousands of years, this ability became wired into our neural architecture, allowing us to make split-second judgments about other people. Today, the stakes aren't as extreme as predator encounters or tribal conflicts, but our brains still operate on the same deeply ingrained mechanisms. Within mere seconds of meeting someone, our minds are unconsciously evaluating a wide range of traits: trustworthiness, competence, warmth, confidence, and dominance. This explains why even the smallest details, a fleeting hesitation in speech, a subtle eyebrow raise, or a slight lean forward, can dramatically influence how we are perceived. Understanding this process is liberating because it reminds us that first impressions, while powerful, are not fixed. They are a product of perception and can be shaped deliberately. By becoming aware of the unconscious factors at play, we can learn to manage the signals we project, improving how we are perceived in both personal and professional contexts. First impressions are not a judgment of our entire character. They are a snapshot, a starting point, and with the right strategies, a snapshot we can influence. The role of nonverbal cues. Nonverbal communication is often the silent powerhouse behind first impressions. Research consistently shows that body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice carry far more weight than the literal words we speak. People are constantly scanning for signals, and their brains integrate these cues to form a rapid, subconscious judgment. Posture is one of the most obvious signals. Standing tall with shoulders relaxed and chest open communicates confidence and approachability, while slouched posture, crossed arms, or tense shoulders can signal insecurity, defensiveness, or disinterest. Even the way you walk into a room, the pace, the energy, the angle of approach, affects how people perceive you. Eye contact is another critical element. It's a delicate balance. Too little eye contact can make you seem evasive or disinterested, while too much can feel intimidating or confrontational. The ideal is steady, natural eye contact that conveys attentiveness and respect, making others feel seen and valued. Facial expressions add another layer of communication. Subtle micro-expressions, those involuntary facial movements that flash for just a fraction of a second, can reveal genuine emotions such as happiness, surprise, or skepticism. Even when we try to mask our feelings with words, these micro-expressions leak truth, giving others the emotional truth behind our statements. Tone of voice is equally influential. A confident, calm, and well-modulated tone can make a simple greeting feel warm and trustworthy, while a rushed or hesitant tone may create subtle doubt. When combined, these nonverbal cues create a full picture of who you are in the mind of the observer, often before a single word is fully processed. The takeaway is clear. People are constantly reading the invisible language of the body. By understanding and consciously managing posture, eye contact, facial expressions, and tone, we can dramatically shape the impressions we make, and ensure that the snapshot others form of us in those first critical seconds is exactly the one we intend. The halo effect and cognitive biases. One of the most fascinating forces shaping first impressions is the halo effect, a cognitive bias where a single positive trait can overshadow everything else we perceive about a person. For example, if someone walks into a room with impeccable grooming, a confident posture, and a genuine smile, our brains often fill in the blanks, assuming they are intelligent, competent, kind, or trustworthy. That first, small cue cascades into a series of positive assumptions, often without us realizing it. Conversely, the halo effect works in reverse too. A single negative trait, slouched posture, a frown, or even a disorganized appearance, can trigger a chain reaction of unfavorable judgments. Suddenly, we may unconsciously assume the person is lazy, untrustworthy, or less capable, even if none of those assumptions are true. Stereotypes and prior experiences also feed into these snap judgments. Our brains are wired to categorize new people based on past encounters, cultural context, and social norms. Clothing choices, hairstyles, accents, and even body modifications can influence these instant categorizations, shaping perceptions without conscious thought. The power of the halo effect lies in its invisibility. Most people don't even realize it's happening, yet it subtly guides their decisions, reactions, and willingness to engage. Being aware of these biases is liberating. It reminds us that first impressions are not always fair or accurate, yet they are profoundly influential. By understanding how the halo effect and cognitive shortcuts operate, we can both mitigate unfair judgments about others and deliberately project traits we want others to notice about us. How first impressions affect real life. First impressions are far from abstract. They carry tangible consequences that ripple across our personal and professional lives. Consider the high-stakes context of a job interview. Within the first few seconds, an interviewer forms a gut impression that can influence their evaluation of every answer, gesture, and qualification that follows. A confident posture, steady eye contact, and a warm, genuine smile can make you seem capable, trustworthy, and likable, long before you even describe your skills. Conversely, appearing distracted, fidgety, or disengaged can silently signal unreliability or nervousness, potentially closing doors before you've had a chance to prove yourself. In networking and social events, first impressions often determine who approaches whom, who we're drawn to, and who we subconsciously avoid. Someone who conveys warmth, attentiveness, and energy naturally attracts conversation and builds rapport quickly. In contrast, people who appear distant, anxious, or uninterested may be overlooked, no matter how talented or interesting they truly are. Research also highlights the long-term impact of first impressions in professional settings. Employees who project confidence and competence from the outset are more likely to be perceived as leaders, gain trust from colleagues, and receive promotions. In personal relationships, first impressions influence perceptions of trustworthiness, compatibility, and emotional safety, shaping friendships, romantic connections, and social networks for months or even years. Ultimately, the power of first impressions lies in their ability to set the stage. They act as the lens through which everything else is filtered, subtly influencing decisions, interactions, and opportunities. By understanding the psychological mechanisms behind these snap judgments, from the halo effect to cognitive biases, we gain the tools to not only navigate social situations more effectively but also to actively shape the way the world sees us from the very first second we meet. Practical strategies to make a strong first impression. So, how can we take control of those crucial first few seconds, when judgments are made almost instantly? The starting point is awareness. Every gesture, posture, and tone of voice communicates something to the people around you, whether you intend it or not. By simply noticing how you present yourself, you gain the first layer of control over perception. Begin with body language. Open, confident postures signal strength and approachability. Stand or sit with your shoulders back, chest slightly forward, and hands relaxed rather than clenched. Keep your chin slightly raised, not in arrogance, but in quiet confidence. These small adjustments create an aura of self-assuredness without needing to say a word. Even subtle movements, like leaning in slightly while someone speaks or mirroring their gestures after a brief delay, can enhance rapport and signal attentiveness. Eye contact is another cornerstone. The ideal balance communicates that you are engaged and present. Too little eye contact can come across as evasive or disinterested. Too much can feel intimidating or aggressive. A steady, natural gaze paired with occasional nods or subtle smiles conveys warmth, empathy, and understanding. Next, focus on authenticity. People are exceptionally skilled at detecting insincerity. A forced smile, overly rehearsed phrases, or fake enthusiasm can immediately undermine trust. Instead, strive to be genuinely present. Speak clearly and calmly, actively listen, and respond with curiosity. Ask thoughtful questions, reflect back what you hear, and nod in understanding. These small actions create a subconscious signal to the other person. You matter. I am genuinely interested in you. This emotional connection forms the foundation of any strong first impression. Another key factor is energy matching. Humans instinctively respond to the tone and rhythm of others. If someone is animated and excited, subtly matching their energy can foster rapport. If they are calm and measured, mirroring that tone communicates comfort and respect. The goal is never mimicry, but subtle synchronization that builds a sense of alignment. Finally, remember that first impressions are a doorway, not a guarantee. They open opportunities and set the tone, but sustained relationships rely on consistent follow-through. Actions, honesty, and reliability over time reinforce the initial impression, transforming a fleeting perception into a lasting bond. By understanding the psychology behind first impressions, you gain the ability to start every interaction on the strongest possible footing, giving you a head start in creating meaningful, lasting connections. The science-backed takeaway. The science of first impressions reveals a fascinating paradox. Humans are wired to judge quickly, subconsciously, and often unfairly, yet that very mechanism can be leveraged to our advantage. Our brains process body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and cognitive cues like the halo effect faster than conscious thought, forming instantaneous judgments that can influence opportunities, relationships, and trust. The empowering part is that this process is predictable and manageable. By consciously mastering posture, eye contact, micro-expressions, tone, and authentic engagement, you can influence how others perceive you from the very first second. Understanding these principles removes fear and replaces it with agency. You can shape impressions rather than be passively shaped by them. In practical terms, this means you can enter interviews, social gatherings, or even casual encounters with confidence, knowing that your body language, attentiveness, and authenticity are tools you can control. A warm smile, steady gaze, open posture, and genuine curiosity are not just gestures. They are signals that your brain and the brains of those around you interpret as trust, competence, and likability. Ultimately, mastering first impressions is more than a social skill. It's a superpower. In a world where people often decide who you are in mere seconds, understanding and leveraging the science behind those initial judgments can open doors, foster connections, and leave lasting positive impact. By combining awareness, authenticity, and subtle psychological insight, you can ensure that those first critical moments work in your favor and set the stage for meaningful, enduring relationships.